Dude, I picked out this mug because I thought it looked cool. And then now that I'm on, I'm noticing that it says super duper.
I've been looking at that the entire time.
Welcome to another episode of Under the Influence, Season 5, Episode 9. I'm your guest co-host, Shibbs. Shibble Dibble.
Shibble Dibble.
I like
Shibble
Shibble
Dibble.
I've never heard Shibble Dibble.
I haven't either.
Also known as Chris, because Jerry will inevitably call me by my first name. But,
Well, especially if you're sitting right here and we're talking to you, I'm not going to remember to call you Shibbs.
right, yeah, so everyone just forget, I usually am your producer, but today we have a guest producer, the Bard.
The Bard.
The Rizzler, is that his name?
Yeah,
The
Bardman,
Rizzler,
Mr. Rizzler.
Joel.
Oh, and we're just saying
we're
his
just
name.
we're just doxing him. All right.
Last episode, Joel guest did this for us, and Joel's going to be doing this as like our backup producer every so often. And so, excuse me, Mr. Riz is going to be doing that.
Yeah, say hi, Joel.
Yeah, say hi.
Say hi.
Bardman,
Dance,
Mr.
monkey.
Riz. You got a microphone.
Hi.
All right, he's pushing the buttons back there, doing a great job.
He is.
He is.
For those that don't know, Joel is
yeah.
my younger brother. I have two younger brothers, and he's the younger of the two. I don't think he's been on the show.
No, he's
We've
not
talked
been on
about
the
it,
show, but we have talked about him.
And there's been photos of him on the show because we looked at my wedding photos, and he was in those, and he had some pretty epic looks. For the audio listener, I just made it look like I was kicked in between my legs. There's a photo like that of Joel in my wedding. So.
Yeah, you should go check that out.
It was during the ceremony, actually. I'm just kidding.
I remember that. And we also have our mainstays. We have Jarrett, Levi, and Jerry.
Wow.
I'm here too.
Yeah.
He said your name.
Yeah, we're so glad to be here. I'm honored to be. Thank you for having me, Shibbs. I'm honored to be here.
I'm excited that I could take over, and
The Shibble Dibble takeover.
yeah.
The Shibble Dibble takeover of 1903. Realistically, Shibbs, you have been
1903.
slowly,
I was only 17.
you have been slowly taking over the show anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is
I
all
have.
part of your larger plot, right? It has been to become the producer. It has been to slowly take over, and
So
then now
I thought I
Christian
was more
influence.
subtle.
We are trying to invade, and then
yeah.
do all of our stuff there.
Do you know the 4 eyes of Christian influence? You've only heard
I do.
me
Say it like a billion different times, but my mind is entirely blank.
what you're saying. They have no idea what we're talking about. If you watched our breakout session at last year's student conference, which is a video on our YouTube channel, then you might know what we're talking about. The 4 eyes of Christian influence. It's like our missional strategy. But if you don't, then. But we're gonna let Levi struggle. I want to hear Levi. What are the 4 eyes?
I don't know the 4
You
eyes.
don't. You haven't heard me present on it. That's
Do you know?
okay. He hasn't either. But Levi's heard me present on this. Identify.
Invade.
Those are in there.
I know inspire's the last one, but I can't.
Instruct.
So it's identify, invade.
Yeah. Identify, invade.
This is the one that Matt is probably most passionate about, other than the word invade. But Matt's most passionate about this
I know it.
aspect
I know
of
it.
Yeah.
I know it. Is it intentional?
No.
No.
Oh, because that's a.
They're all verbs.
It's,
They're all
it's,
verbs.
it's,
Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue.
that was it. I-H-H-H-H-H.
um,
Identify, invade.
Influence.
it's not like
You would think so, but no.
it's not. It's not include. It's involve.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
involve.
nice.
Identify,
Is it
invade,
bad that
involve,
I initially
inspire.
was like encourage?
Yes, it is.
I'm going to confidently say that is bad. That is bad. Encourage. I should add it, though.
Yeah.
Instead of inspire for the last one,
It's
should be
just
encourage.
encourage. Yeah.
Just call it it's the 5 eyes.
5 eyes. To clarify for the audio listener. So that was just something that we developed, like, to kind of explain what Christian influence does and how we do it. Identify is identifying the needs on the internet, like identifying where Jesus is needed. Invading is going there, taking those areas over, right, and being a Christian presence and influence in those areas. Involving is involving the people that are there in the church into Christian community, and then inspiring others to do the same. So it's kind of
Indoctrinate.
and yeah. I mean, I'm all about it. I like indoctrination. We should send that to our Rhett Link commenters. Yeah, we are big about indoctrination here. But yeah, that's like the missional strategy. We have a mission, we have a vision, and then our strategy for accomplishing that. And then it looks, different in different ways. Like this podcast is kind of somewhere in that tree, those 4 eyes. But I used that for the first one because I was like, I need, some alliteration, something easy, some bullet points to be like, hey kids, this is what we do. And because I was presenting to a bunch of youth groups and their youth leaders and stuff. And so I was like, oh, well, there's some eyes in there. Oh, I'll just make it 4 eyes. Because it's just funny to joke with. Every time I say it, kids laugh.
They do laugh.
I'm
every
like,
single time.
so these are our 4 eyes. I can say that because I have glasses. You guys can make fun of me. It's all right. The 4 eyes. And it helps them remember. Like I've said that at the school too. And some of the students at the school have remembered it.
There was a kid that was like, no, I think your glasses look great.
Yeah, right up. So this
It was
year-
wild.
Yeah.
Their kids were actually complimenting him.
Dude.
Which kids these days are kind of ruthless.
Was that first or second lecture?
The first one,
Yeah.
they hyper-focused on your name being incredibly cool.
I don't get it, man.
It might have been because I was like, he's, what did I say your name was? It was like Gerald Craneth or something.
Oh. Well, let's save this and talk about STUCO.
Yeah.
Well, what were we starting with? We were starting with...
Well,
The weight loss.
do we want to talk about that first?
weight loss.
So
Weight loss.
coming
Yeah.
back to an episode or 2 ago, we got that question. What would you change about yourself?
I thought that they asked, like, why are you guys all so fat?
Oh, was that what it was?
That's what I remember reading.
In actuality, though, we have gotten a comment in the past on the episode. It wasn't this season. In season 4, we posted a TikTok like short thing, and it was a really grainy one. I think our focus was a little bit bad, and also our lighting made the visual look really grainy, and sometimes it just does. But in that episode, we were talking. Jared, Levi, and I were all on the show, and we're talking about. I think we were just talking about your D&D character or something like that. And then the comment somebody said was like, somebody said that it was pixely or pixelated. Why don't I pull it up?
That's my fault.
Why don't I pull it up? Somebody commented on the fact that it was pixelated. And then somebody else
Or
was
you have bad internet.
was like, dude, I think it's pixelated because they've eaten all the extra pixels necessary.
I remember you saying that so
It was so funny. I'm going to find that.
It's such a...
It's a good dig.
It's a
Well,
good...
I wasn't on camera for that, so
So it's...
I'm not taking that one.
Nope, it's not that one. It's not that one. It
I
must
do
be
love me
this
some
one.
pixels, though.
Here we go. So we got a nice comment from Cammie York saying, proud of you, Jarrett Brown. You've come so far, and I'm so happy for you.
Aw.
I don't know if you saw that. Matt C. said, you need to become the type of person that deserves the type of person you're looking for. So this is in response to like what we talked about. Jarrett was talking about like how now he's married and his life has changed, things like that. It must not be this one. Same for women who want a husband. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which episode it was. Maybe it was on YouTube. I thought it was on TikTok that they made this comment. But somebody did call us out for all basically just being fat lards, is what they were calling it. I thought that was it. Maybe I'll have to find it some other time then. But it was just like, dude, this episode's so pixely. Oh, I know. It's because they all ate the extra pixels necessary.
Well, what you don't understand though is Jarrett requests those kinds of comments. That's what he said. He said he needs.
Yeah.
I need it.
You should see the, before we started recording, the test footage, because I'm really taking those comments that he said to heart.
Yeah.
I need to, really dig in there.
So basically, it was what would you change about yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
2
what's
episodes ago or
what's
something.
stopping
And
you?
what's stopping you.
And that's the kicker right there. Is the what's stopping you. And Jarrett said,
Chris.
I would like to lose weight, and he said,
Chris is just
what
holding
was
the
your
gun to his
reason?
head.
What was your reason for not?
The motivation. I'm not going to do something that I'm not motivated to do.
Right.
And I just hadn't had the motivation.
Yeah.
So after that episode, we had the idea because we thought it would tie into our theme, which is
Hebrews 3:13.
Yep.
and I.
But exhort one another each day as long as it is called today, so that you are not deceived by sins. Oh, hang on. So that you are not. Whoa, I've lost it. So that you are not something by sin's
So
deceitfulness.
that your heart...
Hardened by sin's
Yeah,
deceitfulness.
yeah.
Man, thank you.
Yeah, I'm the worst when it comes to quoting scripture. I'm sorry, guys, but I do know John 3:16. I'll never forget that one.
Do you know John 11:35?
No, what is it?
come on. It's the shortest verse in the entire Bible.
Is it Jesus wept?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty good. Okay.
So in order to exhort our brother Jerry and to motivate, we're all entering into a pact to...
Both of us had the same idea.
That was
These guys.
crazy.
we are not a cult.
Cult or hypothetical under the influence.
Right. But no, we want to help motivate Jarrett, so we're all in it together because I can definitely lose some weight as well.
Yeah,
we all agreed that we want to. So about a week ago, we did our official weigh-in, and we're already started, but we're going to go until the end of this season,
Which is around August, September, I think.
That's what it seemed. I tried to figure it out. I think it's like late August, early September. So
I have it in our shared Google Calendar, and I think our last recording is like August 19th or something like that.
So we have lots of time. So we're already a week in. Jarrett's already reporting good results. So we just we welcome your encouragement. That's what we're going to do. We're gonna report. I think every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
we're going to tell you
every 2
percentages.
episodes, yeah.
We're not giving you hard numbers. Sorry.
Oh, we're not?
I think we're just going to tell a percentage that we're lost because that's
okay.
that's what the competition is.
The competition is percentage.
Is based on percentage. So honestly, Levi can lose because he's the lightest of all of us. He can lose the least and have that be the bigger percentage.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I
So you-
have a cap to the percentage that I can lose.
I'm super motivated now. I'm a super competitive person, so this has been already very fun.
You're already winning, too.
So tired because I'm not eating.
Well, you have to eat something.
You should
Well,
eat.
I'm already like finding,
You're taking like vitamins, right?
no. I'm finding
should
that-
take
I'm
vitamins.
finding that balance. So I already did like the super unhealthy, like do the drastic stuff, and then, but I've been talking to a doctor on like, all right, let's figure out how do I do this? Like do the healthy way. Got an actual diet in place, drinking lots of water.
Good.
So
I would recommend taking like a daily multivitamin though too, because if you are skipping some meals, it is easy to kind of sometimes miss some of the vitamins and nutrients that you need. So that's what I do.
I'm a big fan of supplementation. So.
Yeah. But usually you take yours intravenously, right?
Oh yeah, protein powder. Mix it up. Put it right in the
Protein powder straight in your veins.
Well, you got to melt it a little bit, you know.
Just immediately your forearms,
Popeye.
and then they fall off.
But there is something for the winner and the loser, being the loser the winner is the biggest loser,
Yeah.
and the loser is the worst loser.
yeah.
You're the loser if you're the worst loser,
Yeah.
but you're the winner if you're the biggest loser.
Jerry and I think we kind of agreed on something. We didn't really consult you guys, but I don't know. I mean, is that what we're going to go with, Jerry?
Yeah, the
What?
losers
The
have to
fine-
gain the amount of weight that the winner
Yeah,
lost.
yeah, that's what we're doing, right?
Levi.
Yeah, I think that's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst idea you could. I would rather. Yeah.
Well, we talked about it. I don't think it's set in stone. I suppose we could, if you want to comment and tell us
What do you think a
we
punishment
should
should be?
do.
Yeah.
Or a prize. It can be a prize or a punishment or both.
In general, we were just thinking in the final episode, which we usually have a longer episode for that. Whoever won the competition can request whatever they want during that entire episode from the one who lost.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Waited on hand and foot.
feeling a little thirsty. Maybe a little water would be nice.
Yeah.
From
you have to leave
the well of
episode
Bethlehem.
in the well of Bethlehem.
Yeah.
And then we'll pour it out in front of you.
Well, no, then the other three have to break in.
No, I mean, that's what David did.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I want some water from the well in Bethlehem,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then they bring it to him, and then he goes, I'm not worthy of drinking this yet, right? Because we haven't won, I think. And then he pours it out.
And drinking this would be like, it's the blood of the people that
Yeah.
put their lives on the line.
Yeah. And so he says instead, because of how much this water is worth, he gives it to God. He sacrifices it for God.
I think
But
that means the other three on this podcast could be referred to as mighty men.
Mighty men, yeah.
Oh.
The Giborim.
And then the biggest loser is just the biggest loser, but everybody else becomes mighty men.
Great. Dude, I picked out this mug because I thought it looked cool. And then now that I'm on, I'm noticing that it says super duper.
I've been looking at that the entire time.
I just thought I saw this side of it and I thought, oh, it's kind of cool. I like it's like a beach or something. And then I turned it around. I was like, oh, it says super duper on it.
I picked my drink and the hoodie I'm wearing today to be bait for a potential guest in the future. George, we have your drink here.
Mr. Janko.
We have your merch here.
Yeah.
Pray for your friends. I actually have a quick story about the pray for your friends.
Tell us.
I went to Costco shopping and I was wearing this hoodie, and the guy checking me out said, checking my products. Apparently he's checking me out because he read my hoodie.
Yeah, the guy at the checkout.
Yeah, and he did say he's like pray for your enemies too.
Oh.
And I'm like,
Amen.
That's right. We pray for everybody. I'm like, it's not just pray for your enemies, but love your enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
George, it's working.
Was he an older guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way you said it made me wonder. Pray for your enemies too.
Pray for your enemies too.
And then he died. Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, I was just saying that he like attacks
He
you.
attacked you with a
Yeah.
sword.
Oh.
He
Pray
pulled
for
out
your
a knife and it's just like, pray for your enemies.
I'm like, I didn't know you were my enemy.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that sweatshirt. I'd love to get
It's
one.
pretty great.
I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
great.
comfortable.
It looks comfy. Comfy
does.
cozy.
Yeah.
Not as comfy as the Christian Influence.
The Christian influence ones are cozy.
Cozy. And remember, I
cooked.
talked about how those are kind of tight. and
Yeah, they're a little
slim.
tight.
So I
They-
did get a larger
they are
one.
tight, yeah.
But I still need to accomplish something in this weight loss competition to fit. I can put it on, but it's still a little.
My plan, my goal for this weight loss competition is to be able to fit into the size smaller.
Whoa.
okay.
Yeah.
Like your normal size. So our sweatshirts, you have to order them a size up because they're a little tight.
Yeah.
So you're going to order another one?
Dude, at the end of this, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I think
No, let us know in the comments what do you
if I
think
do lose
the
the weight.
winner should get for this weight loss competition. But more importantly, what do you think the loser, the person that does not lose the most, right? That loses the least percentage. My best, Jude's Tom Cruise laugh is really good, but my best one is that.
Yeah.
Do the Tucker Carlson laugh.
What?
Do the Tucker Carlson laugh.
How
That
does he
one
laugh?
breaks my ears.
How does he laugh? Whoa.
Like a witch.
He laughs like Kamala Harris?
Yeah, I can't. Do it. I can't do it very well, but it's just like
He does.
Another voice comes in.
I honestly kind of heard it. I couldn't picture it, and then you did that, and I was like, whoa, I think that did sound like Tucker Carlson.
I don't do it well, but it's just like it's like
So the perfect
pierces my ears.
the perfect like news pundit conglomeration meme person would be Tucker Carlson's laugh, Charlie Kirk's smile. Yeah, that's all I could think of.
Yeah, sorry, Tucker.
Matt
I made you sound
Walsh's
like Kamala.
eyes, his dead, soulless eyes.
The way that Trump moves his mouth.
Yeah, Trump's gestures.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Kamala-
they go in
Kamala Harris's
tandem,
laugh.
You know,
Yeah.
where we already got
Biden's
Tucker Harris.
walk. Biden's walk.
Biden's stumble.
Man, whoa! We just created a horror movie villain. Biden's stumble, Matt Walsh's dead, soulless eyes, Tucker Carlson's laugh,
The political
smiling
Frankenstein.
like Charlie Kirk,
He's gonna lose every election.
dude, or win.
Win.
We've created
Like, yeah,
super president. So join us in this journey of losing weight. Let us know in the comments, and why don't you join us? Like, let us jump into the Discord, discord.gg/Christian Influence. Let us know that, hey, you're in this with us and you want to lose some weight this season. And let's all talk about what percentage of our body weight we can lose by the end of this season. Do it in a healthy way, though.
Yeah.
Don't
At
starve
the-
yourself.
At the end of the day, it's about being healthy.
Yeah.
Making sure that you're treating your body and your life for God and being healthy
Yeah.
and doing what's best for Jesus and using your body in the best way possible.
Yeah,
So,
I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, be grateful for the life that you have because you don't know how long it'll be. You don't know what you're going to get to do. Like, take every opportunity that God gives you. And one of those opportunities is to use the tools he's given you to the best of their ability. And one of those tools is your body.
yeah.
Why not? Great.
Whine it.
Whine it. So
Right.
with that, yeah, let's briefly talk about STUCO.
Yeah.
What is it? Why were we there? More than likely, they won't have seen any video from it yet, or they might. But what is it, Levi? What was STUCO?
So STUCO is STUCO.
Not
STUCO is a
suit
different thing.
Suit coat.
Yeah, what
And-
is suit coat?
Suit and suit coat. When Matt asked me about it, I was getting ready for it. He's like, "You getting ready for suit coat?" And I looked up and I was like, he said it totally genuinely. And for those who don't know, like our church in the past has observed suit coat just because like to experience it. And I was like, Matt, I thought that Creekside didn't do that anymore. He's like, what? I was like I've never been at Creekside when it did a suit coat.
I thought it was just STUCO. I thought you don't pronounce the T.
I've always heard Chad say suit coat.
Oh.
That's the way I've heard it.
Yeah, I've never heard it without the T.
Okay. I've never heard the T. I must just be
I've always heard
blind
Matt
to
and
that
Chad say
letter.
suit coat. But regardless,
Yeah.
he said suit coat, and I was like,
I've always heard the T.
I was like, I didn't know that we still did that. And he's like, you're going next week. And I was like, oh, STUCO? And he's like, I legitimately accidentally called it suit coat. I don't know why. Like, I could see Matt joking about that, but he's like, dude, I totally.
He does that though. He mixed up Palestine and Pakistan one time in a conversation, and I was
Wait,
like, "What
what's
are you
the
talking
difference?
about?" But I was so confused. I'm like, Jesus was from Pakistan.
I was just kidding. But
Yikes.
yeah, no, paladins. Yeah, so STUCO. What is STUCO, Levi?
So it's a big gathering for all of the youth groups of the Northwest Baptist Convention to all come to one church,
NWBC.
and then we hold worship times, sermons, and then we also do breakout sessions where the kids get to choose what they want to go and learn from, and what they want to learn on, and they get a couple options. Well, they get a couple times where they have the choice to make of what to go to, and then they have a bunch of options of different
2 time slots.
classes.
12 classes to choose from during those time slots.
And we were one of those classes.
We were one of the 12.
one of the 12.
Underwater basket weaving.
That is what we so we were talking about underwater basket weaving.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a wide variety of things. So like Levi said, it's a conference or a gathering, whatever you want to call it. Like we've been to
That's the word
before,
that I was looking
but this one is within our denomination. So there's a bunch of youth groups that we've interacted with and other things too that are there. And last year, Christian Influence was there, because we are closely connected with Creekside, a church within the denomination, and they knew about Christian Influence and asked us to come teach. And so if you're curious about that, there is a video of our breakout session lecture on our YouTube channel. You just look back a year and you'll see STUCO 2024. It's Matt and I discussing Christian Influence, what it is, why it is, who it is, where it is, all that stuff, right? And then this year they invited us back. But what's cool is this year we represent Christian Influence. We also represent a youth group within the denomination too. Unfortunately, we weren't able to take our youth group to be there because somebody in our church was getting married. Well, we can shout them out. Shay and Andrew were getting married that day. It was really exciting. So we weren't able to get volunteers and stuff to bring the youth group there this year. But we'll do it next year. But they still asked me, hey, will you do a breakout session? And before I knew that I was going to have to cancel us being there, I had already agreed to that. So I didn't want to call out of that. And I was like, man, if they've already printed material that shows my class is going to be on there, I don't want them to have to go through and cancel it all. And I want to hold to the responsibilities I agreed to. So
let your yes be yeah and your no be nah.
Your yes be yeah and your no be nah.
Yeah.
So we still did it, and I'm so glad we
It's
did.
biblical.
It's not scriptural, but it is biblical.
Yeah.
Sounds like that should be like in a Christian hip hop song.
It's not scriptural, but it's biblical.
The yes be yeah and your no be nah.
Is it?
So where I learned it is there was this kids show that was made to teach kids about the Bible, and it was all about how in the Bible it says that if no one worships God, even the rocks will cry out. The entire show was a bunch of rocks crying out and praising the Lord. So they're these like anthropomorphic rocks like built up into these like little people that are walking
Were you
around.
watching that Noah movie? Is that what you saw?
Don't get me into the Nephilim.
So
monster.
They are all like they rock, They have a band. They start like playing a bunch of stuff. But one of their songs is let your yes be yeah and your no be nah.
Wow.
And then they go through the whole
Are they all voiced by Dwayne Johnson too?
No.
That would be epic.
No. Only one is.
That would rock.
That would. Sorry, say that again.
That would rock.
Oh, we got it. So STUCO, we were there.
Yeah.
We got the honor of leading a breakout session again. And so leading up to it, when they're like, hey, what are you going to talk about? I had been praying about it. Because the interesting thing is, if I was there as a youth group leader, had nothing to do with Christian influence, I'd be like, well, I'm gonna pick a subject matter that I think youth group students need to hear about, and I'll teach on it. So like some of the other ones were teaching, hey, where do we get the books of the Bible that we have? Why is the Bible like the book that, full of different books that we have, like talking about the history of the Bible? Another one was talking about gender, right? And what the Bible says about being male and female. And so a lot of these topical issues that youth group students should hear about. But they asked me, like, hey, we want you to be there and talk about something related to Christian influence. So it really narrows what I can say. Not what I can say, but I can't just say, like, hey, I represent an online ministry, and so we're going to talk about textual criticism, right? Like, that would be strange. They want me there to talk about video games and ministry. So last year we had talked about, hey, what is Christian influence? What do we do and how do we do it? Just kind of a ministry presentation for middle and high schoolers. And the goal of it was to say, like, we're doing this. Here's how you can do similar things. But also, we want to just inspire you to consider how you can be a godly influence in the relationships in your life in all ways, right? Well, this year, I was like, what should we talk about? Because I can't just give the same presentation again. There will be some students that were there last year. And so I had been praying about it, and what came to my mind was, well, we had talked about how, like, we're using video games and content and things like that to reach people with the gospel and then to disciple believers. And I had multiple kids come up to me after that last year and say, hey, I play video games a lot. How can I preach the gospel in video games? And I was kind of like, just do it. I guess, do it.
Yeah.
Like, not really. I had just been saying, well, that's a great question. Here, add me on Discord. We'll talk about that. And I'll help however I can. And I was like giving them examples of ways that I have done that. And really, ultimately, I believe, you should just be, we should be as Christians so in love with the Lord and so in love with the gospel, and it should be an overflow of every conversation we have. And so if that's true, then you're going to play video games with people and talk to them about the gospel. But I didn't really have like a trainable method, like here's a step-by-step method that you can use to go out into video games and do that. But what was cool is when I was remembering that, this year I was like, wait a second, Christian Influence does have that trainable method now that we're using called Gamer of Peace, that we got to be a part of the development of at that Go Game conference, and then Levi went to Multiply School and learned about it and tested it out as well there. And we had Mikey Noodles on an episode recently, and we were talking about how, like, at Christian Influence, we're going to be using Gamer of Peace as a specific trainable method moving forward. And so it's like, I think I'll review what Christian Influence is a little bit, and then in the presentation, like, teach them Gamer of Peace and how to do it. Because I was like, this seems like something that would be of value to them. That was really rough. But it worked out well. But the first one, it worked. I shouldn't say that. It worked out really well. It was just difficult because I tried to, like, simplify it in some ways for students, but then also wanted to make sure I walked through Scripture verse by verse to be teaching them Scripture. But I think it did work out well. But that's what we talked about.
So what do you have, like, a elevator pitch of Gamer of Peace? Because I haven't heard this.
So Gamer of Peace is we're going by the Luke 11 method.
No, Luke chapter 10 verses 1 through 11.
Luke chapter 10 verses 1 through 11, where he talks about sending out the 72, 2 by 2 into towns. Well, we've taken that and have put it into other applications. So online, what would that look like? Well, that would look like me and somebody else going into a game lobby, praying about it, and then playing the game and chatting with people, looking for a person of peace that's going to be responsive and developing a relationship with them and talk to them about the gospel and playing with them and building this connection and being able to preach the gospel in that way, building relationships online by going into lobbies and finding random people.
Yeah. And I think it's like a more method focused way. Like, we say that all the time at Christian Influence. Like, we want to use video games to build relationships and preach the gospel. But Gamer of Peace is specifically a trainable method, so that you have basically a sheet that walks you through this training, so you can go like, oh, now I know, like, I pray first, I pray constantly in between games. It talks about why you pick certain games versus other games, because some give you the opportunity to talk to people easier. And then it's using Luke chapter 10 as its basis. So yeah, like he said, the 2 by 2 thing. It also talks about, like, when he said a person of peace, that implies, right, there will be people that are not. And so Luke chapter 10 has an answer to that as well. Like when you go into a town, it says when you go into a town and they do not, or they reject you, right? What do you do? Well, you wipe the dust off your feet and you still tell them the truth and you warn them, but you leave. And the reason for that, like what that looks like in this is, you know, you go in, you try and talk to somebody and people reject you. Like not out of spite, but you do say, okay, well, hey, God loves you. You tell them the truth. Like God wants a relationship with you, but you're not willing to have any conversation, right? So you're not trying to force that seed to grow. God will do the growing. You planted the seed. You walk away. You find someone who will talk. So you just keep going lobby to lobby until you find someone to talk to that will talk with you, and you love them, build a relationship with them, and you do make a conscious effort to go from simple, fun conversation to spiritual and then scriptural conversation, right? The stuff that is more serious, because you are doing the Lord's work and you're there for a reason. So that's the general.
That's very cool. So to be clear though, the dust your feet off version of this is not rage quitting.
No, it's not rage.
No, it's not rage.
That's something I was specifically trying to emphasize to the kids is like, you aren't saying like, hey, this guy isn't talking to me, and like it's not working, so he's not worth the gospel, like rage quitting and leaving. Yeah. You're saying, oh, God tells me to leave, so then why do we leave? It's because he wants us to be good workmen. And it's like the analogy I gave, or the illustration was like a farmer like takes a seed, plants it in the ground, and is like, I want this to grow as quickly as possible. I want this to respond. And so he drowns it in water, and then it doesn't, and it's not growing, so it keeps drowning it in water. Like he's just hurting himself and he's hurting the plant. So we trust, like we plant the seed, great, and we start watering, and if we see it growing, then we keep going. You know, like it falls apart there because that's not how farming works. But still,
you know, you can tend to it in other ways instead of just pouring water on it.
But if you pour water on it and you see literally nothing, then you trust the growth to the sun.
Right.
And we trust the growth to the sun. With an O. S-O-N. Get it? Bingo, bango, bongo.
It works.
It works. It just works.
It just works.
Todd Howard.
Howard. Thank you very much.
Yeah. May you rest in peace, Todd Howard.
Did he die?
No, I just don't. I want to have good rest. Like I don't want to have fitless nights of horrible sleep.
That's true.
Do you wish people?
You know, now that I think about it, I guess I have been, because I don't.
You've been
say
wishing
rest
that
in
Todd
peace.
Howard would have restless nights?
Well, no, I just don't say, tell them to rest in peace. So I guess I'm.
Yeah, I've been trying to say that, like, whenever I'm hanging out with people, or especially if I meet somebody that I've not met before, and then we are going our separate ways, you know, you're like, hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, have a good one. I always end with rest in peace, and then I walk away. Can you imagine how creepy that would be?
Yeah, I'm sure that like sets them at ease as they leave.
Yeah. And that will allow them to have that restful night that you're so wanting to
Hey,
have.
good to meet you. Yeah, I'm the executive director of a ministry called Christian Influence. Yeah. Oh, you know, this is what we do. Yeah, great. All right. Well, hey, I'd love to meet you again sometime for coffee or something. Yeah, good. Okay. Well, see you later. Yeah, see you later. Rest in peace. I think that sounds fine.
All right.
I've been doing that a lot, so you guys need to tell me if I shouldn't be doing that.
If you've done it to me, I haven't noticed. But
You've never wished me a rest in peace?
No, I've not been doing that. That would be crazy.
Wait, he doesn't want me to rest in peace.
That would be crazy to say that.
I've not been sleeping
So
well.
STUCO, Levi and I went. It was a great time. Basically, we got to go again, and we did record the lectures, and we're going to post an edited version of those lectures so you can see what we talked about, right? And it'll be on our YouTube channel, just like we did last year. But then also, this year we did something different. I actually think it's going to be great. Why are you laughing?
Oh, I was laughing at one part of the lecture that's getting cut out.
Okay, that will be in the other. So we did a vlog. Levi and I, every time we go and do things like this, we're going to try and film some vlog style video. I actually think it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to editing that. We'll have a vlog up of like Levi and I getting ready for STUCO, getting to STUCO, some of the things that we did outside of the lecture. So I want people that support or follow Christian Influence and are praying for the ministry to see some of the things that the ministry is doing. Mm-hmm. And the ministry went to the student conference. We taught some students and their leaders. Mm-hmm. And I want you to know that we're getting to be a part of. Because I think it's important for the supporters of Christian Influence to see that especially. Mm-hmm. But also like people that are just like watching and viewers of Christian Influence, like what Christian Influence is doing. And so we took this kind of vlog video, and I think it'll be fun. But in that, you'll see a little bit of something. In one of the lectures, basically, I got up there, and I was like, oh, to start this, I'm going to, like, ask him some questions. And so I said, like, hey, who was here last year? And, like, raise your hand. Okay, great.
Man, I wish we had the clip.
I can probably get it and give it to Tim so he can put it up real quick. Oh, but I wish we had it here.
Yeah, I want Jarrett and Chris to see that.
I'll show you guys later. But basically, there's this one kid. So I had said like, hey, raise your hand and tell me, someone tell me why you chose this breakout session. Why are you here? Like there's 12. Why did you choose this one? And one kid's like, because my friends are here. I was like, that's a solid reason. I hope your friends led you to the right spot, right? And then another guy's like, because I was here last year. And another one's like, because this guy's here. I'm like, so basically the same thing the other guy said, because your friend is here. All right. And then I'm like, okay, one more. Who wants to tell me why you're here? And this one kid over on the side raises his hand.
He's like really.
And I'm like, all right. I actually think I'd already said that and already picked
you already.
somebody, and
you already
this guy
picked
was
somebody,
still
and
raising
he's
his hand. I was like,
still-
okay, real quick, why are you here? And he goes, and I was like, oh, kids do this. Like he's nervous.
Yeah.
But I don't think he like doesn't know. He's just gonna like think, or maybe he's gonna think of something, And then he goes, I don't know. And I thinking like, oh, it'll be kind of. I do this at my youth group because my students know me well enough now that like I can kind of joke this way with them. But I wasn't really thinking. And this was the first lecture. I was really nervous, and so I figured this still would come off a little dry, but come off clearly like I am joking in a dry way. So I was like, oh, well then why'd you raise your hand? Right?
He did not say it like that.
I'm going to clarify that. I'm trying to take them on a journey. You spoiled
No, I
it.
know. I'm sorry. Sorry.
The journey is that's how in my head it comes off. So, well, why'd you raise your hand? Right? Watching the footage, I said it like this. I'm like, not really looking at him because I'm drinking some water and like fixing my shirt. And he's, and then he says that and I go, why'd you raise your hand? Like so cold. Like it sounded like I was mad at him. I'm like, then why'd you raise your hand?
Oh no.
And I just move on. I felt so bad, man, watching that footage. Levi, it was really funny.
I was dying afterwards because like in the moment I was like,
Because after the lecture, I was like, I referenced it to him. I'm like, hey, the way I said that, like, I think it probably came off worse than I think it did, but I did not think it came off as bad as it clearly did, too. Because I was aware of it. I was like, oh, that probably came off worse than it was in my head. And so I was going to watch the footage. But then when I watched the footage, it was even worse than I meant.
So
All right,
bad.
well, Jerry, so if that kid is watching right now, what would you like to say to him?
Well, first, I don't think the kid picked up on it.
yeah.
Oh,
No.
I'm not going to say sorry.
No. I am going to.
Not gonna say.
I am going to. But I don't want to. I wasn't going to, in that moment, like, bring it to the attention of the kid and be like, so make him feel like something happened that he didn't realize he should have been hurt by, right? But I don't think the kid picked up on it, but based on, like, the way he was acting later and stuff, too. But I will say, kid, in that moment, I did kind of apologize and was like, hey, I wasn't trying to roast you or anything. And I mean it. I wasn't trying to roast you. I was trying to just joke with you and be funny. But if I did hurt your feelings, I'm really sorry. Often I have a hard time with my humor. It can be pretty dry, and I've learned that in my youth group. Like I have to be careful, and I have to make sure it's like acting on stage. It's not in just the eyes. You got to over exaggerate, especially in youth ministry. And I didn't do that very well there, so I'm sorry. And if you want to talk to me about it, we can talk about it sometime. But I'm sure I'll see you next year at STUCO, and I'll make sure I apologize to you there.
It really is how we, as a friend group, react with each other, though, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
we're very much like that.
If I had said that to one of you guys, we would all start like you would have if you had raised your hand.
I would have tried to come up with something bad.
And you were like, I don't know. I would have been like, then why'd you raise your hand? And you would have probably laughed. And I'd been like, I'm just kidding. Which is essentially what I said to that kid. But yeah, it comes off really mean. And it's worse too because the camera's only looking at me. So you hear this kid off camera being like, I don't know. And I'm like, then why'd you raise your hand?
It's like those stand-up comedians at their shows where
Yes.
all they do is just roast the audience terribly. Except we know that this is just students. It's a bunch of kids.
So we've spent a lot of time on that
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
the STUCO thing. But
But-
basically we were there. It was a great opportunity. You'll see the lecture video up. We'll edit one of the lectures, the better of the two, probably the second one, so you guys can see what we taught. And then also we'll put up a fun vlog video about Levi and I. We got to travel out of town to go to this thing, and they put us up in like the church's missionary house, and then we have some fun behind the scenes, and then we did a Q&A in the lectures at the end. I think I'm actually going to put those in the other video so you can hear some of the Q&A answers. And it was fun. It was a good time.
Yep.
That's our STUCO report.
You hit us with like the selfie stick, the what's up, you guys?
We got a lot of Yeah, I don't have a selfie stick. I was using one of these cameras actually, and so it's really close because I can only go this far. And
He ruined all of the napkins though that I had in my car.
Yeah, I moved them. But
No, you
the
crumpled them all
lectures-
up and put them underneath the camera to hold it on the dashboard while we were driving
Yeah.
back. And then I got into my car.
I
and
did
was like,
crumple half
That's
of
like
them.
that's
to
like
use as
the
I had
the
one
rest are in the
left.
back.
the low budget like Steadicam gimbal. Yeah.
I didn't. So let me, for the viewer and the listener, you get into somebody's car, and you see what clearly looks like trash, right? Sitting. So there's a parking brake and two cup holders, and there's these greasy, like speckled with grease napkins. So clearly like Popeye's chicken or something. They've been in the bag and they're speckled with grease, and they're sitting there kind of haphazardly, and it looks like, oh yeah, he's holding on to some napkins, but they also do look like they're trash, right? Like if he wants some napkins, I can replace them, and I would not give him ones in that state. I would give him ones that look cleaner. And so I move them so that I can put this drink that I bought for him for the ride, right? I bought him an energy drink. So I can put it in the cup holder because the cup holder is taken up by some that are laying on top. And then in the cup holder was also crumpled up napkins. So I remove the crumpled up napkins, the ones that look like they're also used. And I take the ones that are not used but are a little speckled in grease, and I set them in the back. But then later on the way home, I do crumple up the rest, and I use them as a Steadicam. That's what he's referring to, just so you know.
I think that's very resourceful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, like, he didn't say anything at the time. If he wants new napkins, like, I can get some.
Well,
napkins.
no,
And I would never
I just
give
didn't
my
realize
friend
that you used all of them.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah.
I didn't know I used all of them.
Yeah, because I needed one, and I just looked down, and they're just all crumpled up, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah, if only we could walk into like a McDonald's for free and just grab a whole stack of them.
To be fair, I did like go and put them underneath the camera. The nice thing is, I bet you they're not any dirtier than they were before I did that either.
They're just crumpled.
They're just crumpled.
Yeah. Just flatten them back out.
No, that's right. Could you use them still?
Well, sure, but I liked the stack being actually neat and sitting there. Sure, the one
It was not neat. What are you talking
they
about?
were before you started moving everything around.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Why'd you raise your hand?
Yeah, so why did you raise your hand? No, I'm sorry that I did that. I didn't realize. I honestly didn't realize they were. I'm not roasting you here. I honestly did not realize they were there, like, because you were holding onto them to use them. It looked like you had like fast food in your car before I had gotten in, and they were like trash napkins that were still sitting there. So I moved them to put that drink there, and then later thought, oh, that trash, I can use it. for the camera.
I had stacked. When I had just gotten fast food, I just stacked them, used the dirtiest one, and then the top one gets like whatever from just driving around for the month or so that they've all been there. But
You don't put them in your glove box?
no,
That's harder to get though.
I don't
Like, if you have
wanna
to reach
have
all the way
to-
over. And you don't want anyone to think you're grabbing a gun.
Oh, you have short arms.
No, in all honesty, I am sorry if that bothered you. I didn't know.
no.
I honestly thought
it
they were
did,
trash.
It did just a little bit, but
I
it was fine.
thought they were trash.
I guess it does make more sense.
I mean, it was more.
They look like
It
trash.
was more just
They were already
frustrating
crumpled like
that I
trash,
was
half of
sitting
them.
there and I just needed one, and I looked down and they're all just like crumpled up and tossed around. I was like, oh, all right, well,
I guess I'll drive. Yeah, no, I didn't. I thought they were trash. They looked like trash, so my bad.
they look like trash.
No, I didn't mean it like that.
I guess it just looked like trash. I guess.
Am I crazy? Let me know in the comments. Greasy napkins sitting there. They look like trash.
The one on top was dirty, sure, but the rest were not.
Fair enough. I can replace them.
We need to get like some type of center console, like napkin dispenser thing for Levi, so that he can just have like
Nice clean napkins.
yeah.
That's a good point.
He won't splatter grease.
I
on
mean,
him.
to be fair, like I do the same thing you do though. When they give me like a million napkins, I'm like, I don't want these to go to waste, and I take them and I put them in my desk or somewhere else. So when I need a napkin, they're there.
Yeah.
And the top one always has some greasy speckles on it.
Yeah.
I get it.
When I moved into my house a year ago, I got Domino's, and I was just going through my junk drawer, and I still have the napkins from that Domino's order in my
Oh,
junk
when we
drawer.
were all helping move those that Domino's
When you-
order? That's funny.
Yeah, I'm like I have that habit. I can't just. These are good napkins, man.
Yeah.
They can be used. So.
Exactly.
And then they just sit somewhere forever. You find them later.
They do.
So, weight loss competition, STUCO. Levi and I went to STUCO. It was a good time. I think just so that we have something of value offered to the people listening, this has just been a lot of rambling about what we did. Also about napkins. Like if you crumple up your friend's napkins, make sure to either uncrumple them or don't leave them in a state of disrepair.
Or apologize.
Well, I did. After you,
No. But I'm
if
telling
if your buddy is bothered by something, or if your buddy does something that bothers you, tell him so that he can apologize. There's no way he can apologize if he thinks that he crumpled up some trash.
Well, I
I thought it was you doing you a favor.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, afterward.
But you did
But I did, because it came up.
because you brought it. It didn't just come up. It didn't just come up. We were talking about. No. We're talking about filming, and you go. And also, Jerry ruined all my napkins. And it really bothered me. I was like, oh, okay. I thought they were trash. They looked like trash.
You were giving them a second life. You're giving them another use. It's
Well,
like,
Levi had a planned second life for them. I get that.
did.
I apologize. Yeah. So, about the STUCO thing, though, it did go really well. And it was really cool to get to go and do something like that, like we talked about with TLC. And again, I was thinking while we were there, like before, we're in this room with like 500 students, and they were jazzed about Jesus. Like, it's one of those things that I didn't expect going into any form of youth ministry, and I guess I should have, because it's so cool to stand as an adult in a room with like 400 or 500 kids, and someone's getting up there and they're like, 3, 2, 1, anticipating the start of the conference, and then all these kids are like, yeah! And sure, some of them are there because it's an electric environment, it's super fun,
Yeah.
but a lot of them are like,
machines going.
this was a little bit more like
It was
modern,
a big,
exciting.
yeah.
than
At
last
least
one we
the
went to.
first event that we had been at, it was all they had the big beach balls bouncing around.
Well, that church does that
Fog
for their
machines.
regular services too, though.
Oh no, that makes sense. That's why Chad went there.
No, there was some fog machines going, beach balls being thrown around for the kids, and then they were playing the Josiah Queen remix of Jesus Freak, which is honestly a really cool version of Jesus Freak. I'd never heard it before.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Josiah Queen is like this. He's like a really popular. He became popular on like TikTok and stuff like that. But he's like kind of folky Christian music that's like really popular right now. He has a song called "I Am Barabbas." I'm pretty sure that's him.
oh, I've heard that.
And then
Yeah,
The
that's
Prodigal. Have you heard The Prodigal? That one is really good.
Haven't heard that one.
Pretty sure that's the one that he like got big for. I Am Barabbas. Those are the two main ones. I'm pretty sure those are both him. And he did with Toby Mac a new version of Jesus Freak, and I think it's really good.
good. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So they were playing that when we walked in. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I've never heard this song before, but it sounds really familiar. Because just the beat leading into it, I'm like, but it's totally different than Jesus Freak. It's just along the same kind of, I don't know how music works. Track? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, the lyrics come in, and it's totally different sound, but same lyrics. I was like, dude, this is an awesome version of Jesus
Yeah,
Freak.
he pulled out his phone to get Siri to figure out what song it was, and then we started hearing.
Well, I figured out it was
it's
Jesus Freak.
Jesus Freak.
I do that because Siri will hold those for you. So then I go look at my list and I add them to my
That makes sense.
music.
That makes sense.
So whenever I hear a song I like, I'm like, hey Siri, name that tune. Not right now. And then she stacks them into a list for you. It's good.
I don't talk to Siri.
No,
We're not on speaking terms.
no, not speaking terms.
No.
Ever since the divorce,
Yeah.
you're in Siri's divorce.
Yeah. Well, I was never married to an iPhone, so.
Oh, good point. But it went really well. That's all I want to say.
Yep.
And then we had some main topic kind of for this episode,
Yeah.
and we want to address something. Let's see, how many episodes ago was this? 2 episodes ago, we had an episode where we talked about Rhett Link. So it was just Levi and I on that episode. And going into it, we had for quite a while been like, hey, when's the right time for us to talk about Rhett Link? Especially me, I had wanted to. And I think I said this in the episode. Like, Rhett and Link were really important to me growing up. A huge reason why I wanted to like maybe do something on YouTube was because I loved watching their YouTube videos. And Levi and Jude and I loved making little YouTube videos at one point. And for me, a lot of the inspiration had come from watching the skits made by Rhett and Link. And so I brought that into it, being like, hey, I have been deeply saddened for the last few years to hear of how apparently confirmed they were Christians and now are walking away, or have completely walked away, like disavowing it, and now in more recent days, like kind of lambasting it, like really going out to say, like these are our major issues with it and all that stuff. And I will commend them for talking about it publicly, if I'm honest, because they haven't, from what I've seen, too often, like, been, saying, you're not allowed to comment on us, you're not allowed to talk about it, because it's really hypocritical sometimes when people go into the public square and say, this is I'm going to talk about something, and then when you talk about it, you're not being rude, but you talk about it, then they're like, you're just a jerk. It's like you talked about in the public square. They've been pretty good about that from what I've seen. And they invite conversation, and I think that's great. But we had brought that up because it's a really sad development that's clearly in the public eye. They're a huge name on YouTube. And so I think it'd be stupid of us to never address it. It's like, and I don't say that in the sense that like we have some authority on YouTube, like some Christian authority on YouTube. Like, yeah, you're coming to Under the Influence for our opinions. Like, we don't get, crazy number of, there's huge Christian YouTubers that like, if someone's going to talk about it, sure, they should talk about it because they have a ton of influence. But also like for the people that do listen to this show, do watch this show, we should still address it. And I'm glad we did, because I don't know if you guys saw in the Discord, but like Kanan talked about it specifically. He brought up like, yeah, his family, was really saddened by this development. Like he's like, I'm glad that you guys talked about this, and it was a good conversation, and like, and other things in his circles is too like have been impacted by the Rhett and Link development. And so I'm glad that we talked about it, if not for anything else, other than that, that it seems to have been a valuable conversation for him. But to bring it up again, that episode came out this week for us at the time of recording, this last week. And I was sitting in the hospital the other day and looking at all the comments coming in, and it was rough. I was having a rough time. It was already a really rough day. And then I'm looking, I was like, this is the first time we've really put something out there that got some serious pushback. Like we've been called fatties before, whatever, like on TikTok, or we've had people say like, dude, the visual quality of this is garbage, whatever. That's fine. But we got like some vehement pushback in the form of essays. We also had people saying like, I hate that this video was recommended to me or whatever, right? It really disappoints me. I wish I hadn't watched this. It's like, well, then why'd you watch it? But, and then some real pushback. And so we were discussing it. And it was like, we should definitely address this on the show in a more brief, succinct way as whatever possible. And then make sure that those comments get addressed in the comment section as well. Because I was watching like the numbers on that one, I think because we were talking about it, right? Rhett and Link were mentioned. That episode just got picked up and recommended to some people. Right.
Because Rhett had done a sit-down interview with Alex O'Connor. I think,
which is awesome.
What was it? Cosmic Skeptic is what he used to be called.
Skeptic. He used to go by that.
He's big, and I like watching him have conversations with theologians. He's very polite. He's super smart. But he had to sit down with Rhett, and so that trended. And I think it was just the timing. Our title had Rhett and Link in there, and so the algorithm said, "Hey, since this is trending, let's push this video out there too."
Yeah.
So I think we got a lot more exposure on that video than a standard UTI episode,
like natural exposure rather than
right.
Yeah, I will say this about Alex O'Connor, dude. I really love that guy, and contrary to what some of you guys in the comments were saying, if you're watching this video, we really love Rhett and Link. And similarly, we really love Alex O'Connor. Like, I love Rhett and Link because they are honestly talking about it. And I think that that's good. That's why we wanted to talk about it here. And Alex O'Connor, dude, yeah, like he is respectful, but I will say for being like the agnostic atheist, whatever he wants to go by, I don't remember. But for being who he is, he's really kind and respectful and insightful. He says, I really want to hear out arguments. I want to hear it. But at the same time, he's like, I will argue, but do it in a respectful way. But despite that, I was just going to say, like, despite that, he will sometimes do this thing where he will even laugh about things that he thinks are laughable about Christianity. And it doesn't anger me when he does that, because I remember he's not a Christian. So for him, if he's not a Christian, right, and so he isn't seeing these things from a Christian worldview, he believes in opposition, some things to him will be laughable. And so when he laughs, sure, it saddens me because I wish he were a Christian. I wish these things were not laughable to him, but it doesn't offend me. And something that happened on our episode, because we are Christians, because we are not, right, whatever, we are not agnostic, we're not atheist, whatever it is that Rhett and Link now claim to be, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, there are some things that they say that we will see as maybe laughable, or maybe like just like we will just say, yeah, those are wrong, right? Because from our perspective, right? But we aren't, by saying that and acting the same way that like Alex O'Connor would act about some things about Christians. We aren't writing them off or even judging them. We are just saying like, because you have to understand, like for those of you that were commenting these sorts of things, you have to understand for us to talk about something like evolutionary biology or whatever, right? Like the biology of evolution and all of that stuff. Like for us to refer to it, we aren't going to refer to it and then be like, you know, that thing that we respect very highly, you know, that thing that we think very highly of, but just happen to not believe. It's like we believe in direct opposition of it, and we aren't going to just like speak of it with reverence. But also, we're not going to sit here and just say like horrible things about the people that believe it either, because we do love those people, and I don't think that we did.
To tack on to that though is, we on this panel, we don't believe in evolution, but that doesn't mean that there aren't Christians that do.
Yeah.
Michael Jones, his channel's Inspiring Philosophy.
Yeah.
I always get this backward. He's either a evolutionary theist or a theistic evolutionist. I don't remember how he says it, but
whatever the title is.
But he believes God created everything, but he used evolution as he created the process of evolution and guided it as his tool of creation. He has he's this guy's really smart. He's got I think he's a PhD, to be honest.
I've heard that. I don't know if I thought so.
I think, but he definitely is. He excels in philosophy and logic, and so he's a Christian apologist. He's a good guy to listen to if you want to hear. So basically, my point being is that we don't agree with evolution, but it doesn't mean we can't be respectful to someone who does. But we're not going to be. We're not going to go out of our way to be respectful of the idea, but we also have brothers and sisters in Christ who say, you know, I believe in evolution. I mean,
they're necessary and essential things to being a follower of Christ.
Yeah.
And Jesus doesn't in the Gospels. Jesus doesn't say, you know, you have to believe that God used this method or this method in order to create creation to be saved. What he does say is, you need to believe in a God of the universe, that you need to believe in God who created all things for a purpose, right? And so like for someone to say, yes, I believe in that, but I believe God used a specific method over time, that's where they're disagreeing over like the tools in creation that God used to do things, right? Where we may be disagreeing with those Christians. So like, because someone in the comments had mentioned like, even, you know, you Christians can't agree on everything. It's like, Christians will agree on what matters, and we will make mistakes in fighting over those things, and we shouldn't. And
if you're watching and you're not a Christian and you're not so in theology, there's several different fields of study. You know, soteriology is the study of salvation. So reading the Bible, what does the Bible tell us are the tenets of salvation?
Right.
This is what we consider in Christianity a primary issue. So primary issues are what all of us as Christians should agree on.
Yeah.
Jesus came as a man, died on the cross for our sins, and for salvation we accept him. We believe in him, believe in God, and accept that he died for our sins. That we needed that. Without that, we are. I mean, we're all sinners. So, but without that sacrifice, we can't have salvation. So that's primary. Secondary is. To go way out into the wings, secondary is giants were real. The Nephilim. Yeah.
Like they were giants, like 12, 15 feet tall.
And then you could say, Chris, you're silly. That's ridiculous. But I like talking about Nephilim. Okay. But anyway, there's like tons of Christians that'd be like, that's not what Nephilim means. Nephilim just means mighty men. Something like that. If I'm wrong, that's secondary. That doesn't matter. And I think that's where a lot of atheists, when they from the outside looking in at Christianity, go, you guys can't even agree on everything. It's like we agree on the primary topics. The secondary topics, that's where we have fun having debate.
Yeah.
Theological.
For example, like to
debate.
Completely flip it, I would imagine like to be atheist, right? If that is your religion that you subscribe to, right? What is a primary tenet? That you don't believe in the existence of God, or you're not sure, but a primary tenet for most is that you don't believe in the Christian worldview. Okay, so we'll call that the primary tenet of atheism, right? For the sake of argument. Well, a secondary one is like, do you believe in evolution? Do you just not care, right? Like you guys can fight over that sometimes, right? Or there's tons of other things, right? Like, I would even say too, how the world is run now, whether it is socialism or capitalism or communism, things like that, like how those all feed into your worldview, right? You have an atheistic worldview, but you have all these secondary things that you believe in, and you're going to fight with other atheists about those things or disagree about those things. But what do you guys share? Well, you believe that there is no God, right? You do not believe that there is a creator over all of this. Okay, well, for us as Christians, like, we're allowed to disagree with one another, and the four of us here disagree on some of those things. But what we all agree on is that there is one God who created all things with a purpose. He created he created humanity with a specific purpose, which is to be in relationship with him and to glorify him. And we have an issue, right? Because he gave us the opportunity to choose to glorify him or not, and we choose not to, which is the bad news. Because we choose not to, we earn separation from him. Well, he wants us in union with him, so he gave us a way to be in union with him by dying and paying the price that we need to pay for us, right? And then his son, right, who did that for us, raises again to show us that he is God and that he has and can overcome death to give us hope, right? So that we believe. So, like, this is something that we all agree on because this is a primary tenet of Christianity. But then, like Chris said, like Shibbs believes very strongly about the Nephilim issue. I don't disagree with him.
Let me clarify, because I don't want to come off as a quack. I loved looking into it. I really want for giants to have existed.
Dude, same. I just don't know, and so I don't think about it.
I don't know for sure, but if a video comes up my feed about we found some giant bones, I'm like,
all those
give
guys,
me that. Let me look.
Those commenters, though, if they are watching this right now, they're going to write all of it off because we brought up giants and Nephilim and stuff. But our point is just to say, like, there are primary and secondary issues, and so like for the person out there that commented, like, you guys can't even agree or whatever. It's like, okay, we agree on what matters, and just like you would say, I would imagine, for you and other atheists, you agree on what matters, right? That there is no God. Now, what do you do about it? Well, that's in the living your life, you've got all these secondary things that you won't agree with everybody on. For us, we agree on what matters. There's a God that created us. You already heard us proclaim the gospel. Now, how do we go about living? We're going to disagree on some things, but we're going to love each other anyway. That's the point of the gospel, right? It's to love God and love others and to be in relationship with God. And so, yeah. And also something we should say, like, Chris kind of said, or Shibbs kind of said a little bit ago, our podcast is not an apologetics podcast.
Yeah. I just to apologize if that's what you were coming and seeking in our discussion, or if you came in and were like, oh, they're going to dive deep into these issues. That's not really what the basis of our podcast has been. And also, we like video games. Yeah. we also hadn't come in prepared to discuss those issues on the day.
I mean, like, he brought up inspiring philosophy. Like, there are people.
There are definitely
the purpose of the content that they're creating, because they're Christians, and then the content that they're creating is, hey, I'm going to tackle each of these hard subjects, and I'm going to come into it prepared to defend them and those things, right? And we'll do our best to defend them if we encounter these issues. But the purpose, like what we're setting out to do with this content, is to highlight the relationship that Christians should have with God, to emphasize that to those who do not have that relationship with God, right? Because our podcast is about relationship. It's to emphasize having a relationship with God, to encourage people to have that relationship, and how, right, to seek out that relationship, and how to navigate the world while in a relationship with God, and then relationship with others, right? To encourage you to have relationships with people, because often, especially in our world today, we isolate ourselves. So in all of our subject matters, that's the lens that we're talking about these things through. And so I think you can see, if you watch that episode where we talk about Rhett Link, we're talking a lot about, go figure, relationship. Like, we talk a lot about Rhett and Link's relationship as friends. We talk a lot about our relationship as friends. We talk about how they claimed to have had a relationship with God and now are claiming that they don't believe in that God, so they don't have a relationship with that God. So a lot of the conversation was about relationship. And I think a lot of the commenters were saying, oh my goodness, you're rejecting science. You don't even talk about the science. You refer to it once and then don't even go in depth on the science. And it's like, well, guess what? Like, first of all, we don't agree with that quote unquote science. But also, the show isn't about talking about that quote unquote science. The show is about talking about relationship.
And to kind of juxtapose the journey that Rhett Link went through in their deconstruction. Started off as Christians. It sounds to me, I don't know their whole history because I'm not I've seen a few clips of theirs, but I'm not really a viewer of theirs. But it sounds like they were raised Christian, grew up Christian.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I am basically the opposite story of that. So, I mean, in my young days, I was raised Christian, did go to Christian school for a little bit period of time, but then fell out of that, lived a few decades, as a secularist, as someone who believed in evolution, as someone who I don't know if I would say I was atheist, but I was definitely agnostic. But I didn't feel a need to define that. But my journey took me the opposite direction. I really thought, okay, if there is a God, I should be sure about that.
Yeah.
So I did my study, did my research, looked into evolution, looked into the supporting evidence of it, and I really don't think you can use the word empirical, not at all. I think when you refer to things like adaptation within a species and call that evolution, well, sure, then I believe in evolution. But when you're saying cross-species evolution, we still have no evidence of that. There's zero evidence of that. I mean, there are some skeletons that people have found, and they will bring those up as examples, like this, the way this spine is curved and goes and all this kind of stuff. But when you actually dig into the details of those examples, those examples fall apart because, like, you can see where it looks like parts from different creatures were actually brought together and kind of jammed together and said, see, it is this thing. So I when I went into it, I told myself that I was going to be honest with myself. I wasn't going to try and bias either way, and whatever shook out is what I was going to believe. And I'm a Christian now.
Yeah, and I think that's an incredible testimony, right? Like going in, I think a lot of people don't go in saying, wait a second, I want to make sure that I'm right. They think they're already right and go in. And we were kind of accused of that also on that last episode. Like, you guys are just biased and assume you're right. Levi and I think can both confidently say we have seriously grappled at times in our life. What if we're wrong, right?
Yeah.
And spent time in serious research and in serious insight of the truth. And we can do our best to make sure, like, I'm not going to go into this biased. And I can't say, I don't know, maybe I still went into it a little bit biased. I don't know with absolute certainty that I, like to say, oh, I went in and I was really trying not to be biased. Sure, I can say that. And I don't know if somehow in the back of my head, maybe I still was. I don't know. But we both have really grappled with that.
Yeah.
And this is what we believe to be true based on the provided evidence. And something that Chris was touching on was like, and I think he said very well, was like, evolution is not, like it claims to be, but it is not a scientific method, right? It does not appropriately use the scientific method, right, to test its hypotheses because they cannot definitively be tested. So when some of the comments, a lot of them were saying things like, you don't talk about the tried and true science that's been proven. Well, that science really hasn't been proven because it's hypothetical. Or tried, right? It's hypothetical and cannot be, you cannot go back and prove it. Well, we aren't claiming as Christians the Bible is science using the scientific method. What we claim the Bible is a demonstration of historical is a historical account, right? When we look at the Bible, we look at the Gospels, they are historical accounts. And so what we are using is, we're not going back and saying, hey, let's test the hypothesis of the Bible, good gravy, of the Bible using the scientific method. No. There are things like textual criticism, archaeology, things like that we're using to test whether or not, is this a historically reliable document? And therefore, if it is, then what it says happened, if what it says happened is true, right, that it did happen because this is a historical document, then I'm going to believe it, right? And if I'm going to believe it, then it's going to inform the rest of my life. Whereas with evolution, it's been claimed to be science using the scientific method when it really can't even stack up to that. And so what they are also making, right, is a historical argument. but they're claiming that it's using the scientific method because they're trying to explain the history of the world, but then claiming to use the scientific method when you can't. Those two things can't mix, right? Does that make sense? I don't know if you had something else to say about it. You were talking about that a lot beforehand, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do know that even evolutionary scientists, they'll get in debates, and I would encourage you to go look them up. A lot of them are on YouTube. You'll have apologetics experts like William Lane Craig get into debates with like Christopher Hitchens or Dawkins, or and on both sides. Well, I mean, I guess talking from the evolutionary scientist side, they will admit gaps.
Sure.
They're like, we don't have this evidence. This is what we think, but we don't have this evidence. But what they'll say is we're confident that future scientific research will fill these gaps for us. That's the opposite of the scientific method. The scientific method is you observe, you test, and you make your hypothesis or theory from that. This is what we've seen, so this is what we think is happening. And it takes extraordinary like peer review, replication, other parties doing the same testing you did and getting the same results before you call something a fact or a law or whatever. It depends on what area of science you're in. But when you are saying we have these gaps, but we think the gaps are filled by this, and we think future research is going to say that this is true, when a lot of the gaps are just, you can't even really test them. To me, that sounds like faith. It sounds
awful.
It sounds like trust. It's like we think this is going to be the case. So that's why I wonder why Christians, and there are Christian scientists who have run tests and who can give you their theories and hypotheses as to why do we find massive beds of fossils all together, all at once, all in the same layer of the geological record, all dying all at the same time, rather than decaying slowly. Right. It's like, they'll study that, and I believe that that's because of a global flood. Right. Not getting off into a different topic, but the thing is that Christian science, there are scientists that are Christian who engage with it and don't come to the same conclusions. So I would say evolution is not proven. I know a lot of science tries to build on top of it, but then you always run into these scientific journals that they'll reject a paper that is done well, good research, but it doesn't even have to be like from a Christian scientist. It just doesn't come to the conclusion of evolution. They'll reject it because they want it to fit what they have already accepted. And if it doesn't, it like shakes it like basically if you take evolution, like say tomorrow, everyone goes, oh, wow, we were wrong, evolution is wrong, and you pull out that little pillar there, a lot of science crumbles.
Sure. A
lot of scientific research crumbles because that assumption is taken and built upon, and a lot of scientific research will get redone and reworked because it didn't, the first time through, it didn't fit evolution.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't think that we're just like laughing at evolution or anything. And we're just saying like, well, because our science textbook called the Bible says other science, we don't believe this science of the world. No. We never are claiming either that the Bible is a scientific textbook, right? We're claiming that it is a historical document. It is a series of historical documents, right? And so you have to remember, like, when you're commenting, like, you guys aren't even going deep into the science, it's because we're coming from a perspective not of, like, this, we're not claiming the Bible. I should have had one to hold. We're not claiming that the Bible is our scientific textbook and the world's science is stupid compared to this science. No, the Bible isn't a scientific textbook. It is a series of historical documents, right? And it is proclaiming specific truths, and we believe because of the evidence found for supporting the statements in Scripture of the historical accounts, that these historical accounts are true, just like you would with any other history book. A book about George Washington that's claiming these things happened in his life. Well, people, you look at that, and then you go back and you look at the archaeological evidence, you look at other texts that can support the claims of this text, right? Okay, so is it reasonable to believe in this story about George Washington based on supporting evidence, what we know to be true? It is? Okay, then I believe it. Well, the same thing is true of the Bible, right? There's compounding historical evidence, whether archaeological or other texts and things like that, supporting the claims of the Bible. And then because of that, those ones that can be verified, it builds this incredible support for it as a historical document. So now that it is established as a historical document, well, then we look at the other things it says, right? We look at what it says that may or may not be found in these other ones, but it's already been supported as a historical document. Well, that's where we say, well, because this seems to be good evidence, we are going to believe what it says, right? About the supernatural, right? Things like that. Just like, similarly, I should say, as to like you guys others are looking at evolution, or just the people that are proclaiming evolution and other things, right, would look at these supernatural events like a Big Bang. Like that is supernatural because it's not observable in our current natural state. And they're saying, I believe in this supernatural event because of what other people are saying that could have gone into it, right? Like because of these other things that claim to support this evidence that supports this claim. Like the Bible is making claims, and we are saying because it's the evidence, there is evidence that's supporting the historicity and the historical accuracy of the Bible, we are believing its claims, even about supernatural events, right? And I just think like it's easy to look at us and probably think that we're going like, oh, this is our scientific textbook. No, we do believe in the scientific method. We do believe in doing science and proving like theories and things like that through observable science. And we're not claiming that the Bible is observable science. We are instead claiming that it is historical, like it is history, and because of the claims it makes, it's changed our lives. And then there are subjective, right, like evidence, like in our lives as well for how we've seen God change our lives, right? Yeah. Personal testimonies. But like when I try to make a habit too, not just to fall back on that and say like, you should believe in the Bible because it's changed my life. I think that is a powerful tool and we should use that. But I think more often than not, it's important that we show people like, look at the historical accuracy of the Bible. Like that should cause you to think and wonder, like it did for Shibbs, right? Wondering, wait a second, I believe this. I believe in not the Bible. I believe in this worldview. I want to make sure it's right. Like I don't think enough people that are hyper against Christianity really ask themselves that question. You can end up being hyper against Christianity. I don't want you to. I think it's sad, and I think the reason I don't want you to is because I vehemently believe that this is right, and I don't want you to believe it because I believe it's right, and I want you to believe like me. I believe that the consequence of not believing in it is heartbreaking. But if you, like, I can respect to some extent, like you saying, I don't believe in this, but I'm going to engage in conversation. Like Alex O'Connor, that's why I think he's great. He's always like, I want my mind to be changed because if I'm wrong, I don't want to be wrong. Mm-hmm. I think that's respectable.
He will.
I think it's commendable.
He'll dig into the scripture, like he'll actually get in and read and study.
Great.
Yeah.
And if he comes out of it still not believing, I think that's sad, but he tried.
Right.
He tried. What I don't want is what you guys are claiming we are doing, which is just saying, I already believe this, so I'm not even going to consider this. Right? Like, I don't think that that's commendable on either side. We're not claiming that we've done that. We're not, like, because our content, we're not coming out of the gate being like, this content is going to show, like, our full research in the content, and then we're going to come to a conclusion here in the content. There are people that do that. We weren't doing that. We're focused on the relationship. But we have done that in our lives, and we found one convincing and one not convincing. Great. If you can honestly look at us and say the same, that you've looked at both, right, and you find one convincing and the other not convincing, then we'll say, okay, we don't hate you. We love you. And you and I, we disagree. Okay.
And we can even be friends.
We can even be friends. I want you to believe this, not because I just need you to affirm me because I'm afraid that I'm wrong. No. I want you to believe this because I think it changes your life, and what you're believing too will change your life in a way that is tragic. But you know what? I respect. It's like I respect the grind. You worked on it. You don't. Okay, you tried. But if you don't even try,
yeah.
What do you want me to say? You know, if you don't even try, okay. And I'm not saying like you commenters didn't even try, but you kind of said that we did. You kind of said that we didn't even try. Well, just because we didn't go through the process in our 1 hour relational, conversational podcast episode doesn't mean we haven't. But
again, we like video games.
Yeah, the reason this podcast exists is because of a ministry that uses video games to go into the internet and influence people for Christ, to encourage them to have a relationship with God and a relationship with others, and not to be isolated on the internet. Yep. And we are not claiming to be an apologetics podcast. We're not claiming to be that. We're not copping out because we're like, oh, these are hard answers. No, that's not the purpose of this content. And I hope you'd respect the fact that we can be Christians and our content have an individual purpose that's not primarily apologetics. Mm-hmm. However, if you want that, we'll give you some of the people that do that we enjoy, right? Or more specifically, if you do want to have those conversations with us, well, since it's not the purpose of the content, you can reach us in a place of community to have those conversations if you go to our Discord. And that's not a plug because I need you in my Discord commenter. I don't. But if you want to talk to me, you want to talk to Levi, you want to talk to Shibbs, you want to talk to Jarrett, like we said in that episode, come talk to us. And there's a ton of other people too. They're actually even smarter than us on this subject matter because I'm not claiming to be an expert, but know even more about it that will gladly talk to you about it in love because they want you to make an informed decision. At the end of the day, one of the reasons I love Cliff and Stuart Connectly is their thing is, man, sure, they believe that there is objective truth and they want you to believe it too. But primarily, they just want to make sure that if you're going to reject it, you make an informed decision. Mm-hmm. Man, what do they say all the time when they're at those college campuses and they're talking and they're kneeling over in that funny way that they do? It's he goes, I just want to make sure, you're here at a college where it's about learning, right? And using these modes of thought to come to conclusions. And he's like, so don't enter that and then just go, hey, I've already decided. And I've never even stepped through the evidence and wondered and asked questions and made an informed decision. If you're going to reject it, make an informed decision. But like the testimony here of Shibbs, when deciding to do that, when deciding to look at the evidence and really consider it in as an unbiased way as possible, and then make an informed decision, well, he chose to be a Christian. I think that's...
I find it convincing, to be honest. It's overwhelmingly convincing.
And I think that's a compelling... I think that's where personal testimony is compelling, is by going hey, here's this. I'm not saying because of personal testimony. You're not claiming because of your personal testimony, the guy that commented should just believe. No. The personal testimony is to say, I found it convincing, so why don't you seek it out and give it some time that it's worth? When people ask me, people close to me too that don't agree with me ask why I believe, it's because I find it convincing. I can't be certain of anything. I really can't. I can't look at, these evolutionary scientists. Oh, I did the bunny ears. You didn't like that last time. And I can't say based on what was Shibbs saying earlier. I can't look at all that and say, oh yeah, that's 100% convincing. And neither can you. You can't look at it and say it's 100% without a shadow of doubt convincing, because you can't 100% test it to be 100% accurate. And honestly, there are times where I can't say, oh, I'm 100% based on my own understanding and knowledge. I'm 100% without a shadow of doubt confident in anything. But you know what? I find the Bible and the historical accuracy of it convincing. I find it convincing. And that's all any of us in life can do, is be convinced of one thing or another based on the evidence. And I find the overwhelming evidence for the historical accuracy of Scripture convincing. And so do the rest of us, I assume.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else we want to say about it? Sorry, I did a lot more talking than I had expected to do, and I didn't mean to do that.
That's all right.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on this episode.
Next episode, I'll go
back to
good seeing you on
buttons.
this side of the wall.
Yeah. So now get back over there.
Well, dude, I'm honored that you had us, because you're taking the podcast over. So next episode, you guys are watching next week. It's probably just going to be Shibbs and whatever other guys he can manage to get up here, because he said earlier, he's like, I'm taking this show over.
Yeah.
It's going to be me and the Bard. That's it.
Came in, started whipping.
That
us
would be a
into
good
shape,
episode,
and then,
actually.
you know.
I would love to see Jarrett, Levi, and I not here, and it just be Shibbs and Bard Master Rizzler out there.
Shibble dibble in the
Well,
bar.
I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Shibble-dibbled. Riz it up.
I don't want to get too far ahead and say this is going to be in the near future, because both of us are extremely busy. But me and Pastor Matt have an idea for some episodes, not Christian, not UTI episodes, but
Another show, right?
Another show, basically like a short series, like just covering specific topics, things that people can go back to over and over again, like how to study the Bible.
Yeah.
Or that's one we want to do, like a kind of maybe like a 3 or 4 episode series on here's your tools, here's how you use them, and things like that.
I think that's great. Like, because we said, I think we need to just remind people what this podcast is about. The purpose of this podcast is relationship with God and relationship with others. And so that's what we're trying to highlight at all times. But yeah, in the future, if you want more of an episode or more of a show, like you commenter, you want an episode of a show where you can listen and they are talking maybe about some of those apologetic arguments too, right? Like why can we trust the Bible, right? And really go in depth on that. Well, that requires preparation, and that requires that be the purpose of that content. Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like Christian Influence wants to put out a show that's going to have some things like that in the future. And so if you're looking for it, stick around and maybe you'll get some of it here. But also, for those that said you regret being recommended the video, you don't have to watch it. We love you very much.
Like and subscribe. Check out our merch.
Yeah, if you like this content, like it. If you disagree with us, comment and tell us. If you agree with us, we'd love it if you comment and tell us that too, because we mostly hear just the disagreements. But
yeah, they're the loudest people.
They are the loudest people. But you know what? I appreciate each of you that made my day a little harder that day.
Yeah, keep commenting. Help the video.
I wasn't gonna say that, but yeah, dude. That's the thing that I was thinking. I was like, man, these comments, some of them kind of hurt. They're being a little mean. Wait a second. They're pushing us further in the algorithm. Keep doing it. Except they all probably also dislike the video, which doesn't help. So that's all right.
Well, no, a dislike is better than a not anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
Bad credit is better than no credit.
Last I checked, we're higher on the likes than dislikes. So.
Yeah, our like ratio was better.
Yeah.
Usually our like ratio is 100% because they're pretty small reach videos and they
3
get 3
and
likes.
0.
3 and 0. But that one still was better. But the like ratio of those comments that were against us, they were higher than our average video is liked. So like some of those negative comments, like there are like 4 main people giving us negative comments. Some of them got like 10 likes.
Yeah.
So like there were a lot of people that did not like what we said on that episode, and they were going through and just all they did to let us know that was liking the comments that said they didn't like what we did on that episode. That's okay. You know what? Like, that's all right. Like, we want to hear that too.
God gave us free will for a reason.
Yeah.
And there goes the Calvinists.
Oh, no.
That was for you, Mikey Doodles.
We love you very much.
Roll the outro.